Well, the Boogeyman on SmackDown video was a long endeavor, so why not try and cover the Boogeyman's whole career, as right after SmackDown he would be drafted to ECW in 2007. No intro needed, but I did it anyway, so let's get to part 2 of our Boogeyman Chronicles. First match of the video, we're on WWE ECW, as we then see Matt Striker's dumbass self in the ring and he's about to get sacrificed to our updated Boogeyman. I'm not gonna lie, I've never seen a Boogeyman in ECW match, but I don't know why, this just fits him better than SmackDown. Bell rings and Boogs is already showing some progress with the collar and elbow tie-up. Boogs grabs Matt Striker by the fingies and starts wrenching on the ropes. Striker tries to run away, but he suckers Boogie in with the dropkick. Soon after, he then gets another dropkick before Boogs throws him off at one. Boogie starts the gyrations and smacks Striker down, hits a few clotheslines and the body slam followed by the splash, and a few more gyrations. Boogie splash into the corner, he gets double goozled, and then eats the Boogie Bomb for the 3 count. Boogs wraps the worm pouch and then takes a big munch before he does the worm gimmick all in his mouth. Next week on ECW, and the Boogeyman gets some fresh meat in the form of jobber Sean Alexander. Kinda reminds me of Dan Matha. Oh! Sean kicks Boogs in the stomach, Boogs then double goozles Alexander and gives him the Boogie Bomb for the win. Worm pouch ejaculate into Sean's mouth, but we know the deal by now. 7 weeks later, and the Boogeyman returns to an ECW ring to take on Jesse Gillimet, who you may or may not recognize today as AEW's The Blade of the Butcher and the Blade. Boogeyman out here looking like a sunburned alien, and then he spits some worms at Jesse before he starts the offense. Boogs eats the corner, and Jesse starts hitting him in the back. Boogs catches the leg and starts up the clotheslines, followed by a body slam. Boogie with a big clothesline into the corner, he hits a power slam and scales the top rope. Boogie then hits a big splash with some good distance to secure the 3 count. Not gonna lie, I've never seen this look before on Boogeyman, and I kinda fuck with it. Next week on ECW, an ECW World Champion, John Morrison, is gonna go one-on-one with our Boogeyman. First time Boogeyman has actually faced a champion in his WWE career, I believe. Boogs spits a worm at Morrison to start us off. Fireman's carry from Boogs, he hops over Morrison and then slams him into the corner. Boogs is also wearing his original makeup, so I don't know what happened. I kinda like the new look. Boogie splash into the corner, he gives Morrison a running splash for the 2 count. John holds the ropes and then backflip kicks onto the apron, flies off the springboard with a drop kick, but I think Boogeyman avoided it. Boogs climbs to the top rope and then John nails a Pele kick, but Boogs goes crashing down to the floor. This match is pretty slow for a little bit. Boogs then hits a leg drop for a 2 count. Morrison grabs Boogs and drags him into the corner, where Morrison misses the corkscrew moonsault. It looks like Boogs forgot to move, but Boogs takes him to Body Slam City for a 2 count. Boogs eats the corner, he then eats the springboard enziguri for a 2 count. Morrison then starts attacking Boogie on the ropes. Morrison then gets frustrated and pushes the referee, where the ref then disqualifies Morrison, giving Boogie the victory. Boogs then gives him the Boogie Bomb and runs around the ring with the worm pouch, but Morrison avoids the worm shower. 4 days later, and we're here at Saturday night's main event 35, where we have some tag team action. The Boogeyman teams up with our man, Phil, and they will be taking on ECW champ John Morrison, and his partner will be Big Daddy V, accompanied by Matt Striker. John Morrison and CM Punk will kick off this tag team bout. John and Phil get our crowd fired up, and after the commercial, Boogeyman absolutely shit cans Morrison off the back body drop and then grabs for his worm pouch. Boogeyman hops around Morrison before he gets distracted by Striker. V gets the tag and then drops Boogs with a clothesline. Big Daddy with the titty chops in the corner, he then rebounds Boogs into a big Samoan drop. V sends Boogs into the corner, but then V just goes crashing and Morrison tags himself in before Boogs can get the hot tag to Punk. CM Punk eventually wins this match for his team after getting the 3 off a small package on John Morrison. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Boogs isn't exactly Christopher Daniels, if you know what I mean when it comes to in-ring action. My exact point, 3 days later on ECW, and we got another tag team match. CM Punk teams up with the Boogeyman once again, but this time they will take on John Morrison, and his tag team partner will be The Miz, accompanied by Extreme Expose. Yeah! And they will be watching at ringside. CM Punk and The Miz will start this one off with some kicks. Boogeyman soon gets tagged in, and he has a fistful of Nightcrawlers as Miz runs to the outside, and the Boogeyman scares off Extreme Expose and spits some worms on them. Punk hits a single leg dropkick on Morrison and tags in Mr. Boogs, who springs into the ring and gyrates before he spits some worms onto the Shaman of Sexy. Morrison slides through Boogs' legs and hits an enziguri as he hits his own gyrations. Boogs tries to choke him, Morrison avoids it, and then eats a boot for a 2 count. Morrison gets alley-ooped and literally facebusters himself. Miz gets hip tossed backwards into the ring and then eats a splash for a 2 count. Boogs catches Mike's leg as Phil tags himself in and cracks Miz in the head for another 2 count. Boogs awaits the hot tag for a little while. Punk is able to hit the sunset flip powerbomb out of the corner for the double down. Miz knocks Boogs off the ropes to avoid the hot tag. Morrison on the outside tosses Boogs into the stairs before Punk flies over the top onto Morrison. Punk hits the springboard clothesline for a 2 soon after. Miz and Morrison eventually win after Morrison is able to get the blind tag. Punk drops Miz with the go to sleep, and then John takes advantage of the confusion and hits the Moonlight Drive to secure a 3 count. Next week on ECW, we have a fatal 4-way about to commence to determine the #1 contender to John Morrison's ECW Championship. Your participants will be The Miz, CM Punk, Big Daddy V, and the Boogeyman. First opportunity at a championship for Boogeyman here in his career, as I've also noticed. Big Daddy V starts whooping Boogeyman's ass to start off, as everyone tries to triple team Big Daddy, but he just shoves him off, gives Boogs a line, and then just shit cans him to the outside. Boogs appears on the stairs and has a stare down with V. Boogs gives V a kick, and then gets tripped up by The Miz on the outside. Big Daddy V then absolutely shit cans CM Punk with a military press to the floor. Boogs is nowhere to be seen for the rest of this match, and the match is won by Punk after he nailed Miz with the go to sleep and secured the free. Next week on ECW, and Boogs is back in singles action once again, Matt Striker has a microphone, which is terrible on every level. Striker says that he's omniscient, and by implications, he brings out an omnipotent being in the form of Big Daddy V. Boogs gyrates and makes Striker shit his pants to start us off. Big Daddy V gets on the apron, and Striker tries to take advantage, but he then starts eating a bunch of clotheslines. He runs to the outside and stands next to Big Daddy V for a breather. Striker gets his leg caught and he gets a body slam followed by the flying clothesline, which causes Striker to then start running towards the ramp. Matt pulls Boogs down and starts the right hands. Boogie splash into the corner, Striker falls to the outside and starts running away, but this leads to a big lariat from Big Daddy V on the Boogeyman. Big Daddy V has caused a disqualification victory for the Boogeyman, as V then drops Boogs with the Samoan drop on the floor. 2 weeks later on ECW, and Big Daddy V wanders out to the ring with Matt Striker, and V is set to go face to face with the Boogadook. The boys emote to start it off before V starts hammering on Boogs' spine and then pulls him in for a clothesline. Big Daddy grabs Boogs' worm pouch before Boogs gives him a splash into the corner and he starts firing away, but V just blocks him down. Boogs chases after Striker on the outside, V follows him out and then gives him a titty chop on the barricade before he then gets dumped into the stairs. Boogs gets some shots to his back and starts firing up on the Big Papa before he thwarts a Samoan drop attempt. Double goozles V, but then he gives him a headbutt. Big Daddy splashes Boogs into the corner and then gives him the black hole slam before he then hits the Big Daddy elbow drop to pick up the win. So Boogs would sadly again suffer an injury as his return kept getting delayed due to a torn calf muscle, and he wouldn't return until over a year later. The Boogeyman will make his return to in-ring action on ECW in almost 15 months on December 9, 2008. He's out here with some red polka dots this time for 2008. The man he will be taking on is local jobber number 3, Scott Reed. Scott with the kick to the gut, he gets some shots to the back from Boogs, who then drops him with a planting power slam. Reed eats the corner and then gets a stiff shoulder block. Boogie splash into the corner, he then double goozles Scott Reed and hits the Boogie Bomb to pick up the win. 3 weeks later on ECW, and we have a no disqualifications tag team match to contest. Finley makes his way down to the ring with his son Hornswoggle, and their partner will be their old-time rival, the Boogeyman. Man, I miss Lil Boogie. Their opponents for tonight will be the World Tag Team Champions, The Miz and John Morrison. I'm sorry, but why is this no disqualifications but they still have to tag out? Finley and Hornswoggle with the double ass drop on Miz and Morrison. Boogeyman then gives him a double clothesline on the outside before he climbs under the ring. Miz gets attacked from the depths of hell as Hornswoggle hits a suicide dive through the bottom rope. Boogs does nothing for the rest of this match, and John Morrison is able to score the win for his team after he secures the 3 off the Schoolboy. What was the point in Boogeyman even being in this match? Boogs attacks Jomo after the match, and Finley drops him with the Celtic Cross as Miz runs off with his partner. Next week on ECW, and the Boogeyman returns to singles action, and Boogs is all blacked out except the red ears, and he goes against random jobber number 4, Brett Barnes. Barnes is scared shitless in the corner, as I would be, and gets a few shots on Boogs before Boogs hits back harder. Boogs hits him with his salamander head as he then alley-oops him from the ropes. Boogs hits a clothesline and gyrates some more as he then hits the Boogie Splash into the corner. Boogs then pulls Barnes up and hits the pump handle power slam to secure the 3 count. Another week on ECW, and Boogeyman will be sacrificing another jobber in the form of Sammy Savard. I got a ball here! Sammy with the kick and the shots to the back before Boogie gyrates some more and then gives Savard a throat shot. Boogs tosses Sammy with the hip toss out of the corner. He then makes Sammy eat the corner and then gives him the Boogie Splash. Boogie then drops Savard with the Boogie Slam to pick up another quick win 2 weeks in a row. Flashing next week on ECW, and Paul Burchill is in the ring with his wife-sister, Katie Lee, and Paul's gonna deal with the Boogeyman tonight. Paul starts the offense on Boogs in the corner before he nails an uppercut. Burchill with the double knees into the corner right after that. Boogie starts the clothesline comeback with the running ass into the corner, and then the Boogie Splash to the adjacent corner. Boogs tries for the pump handle, but Katie Lee comes in and kicks Boogie in the shin to give him the DQ victory. Boogs clotheslines Paul over the top and then drags Katie back into the ring and shows her his worm before Burchill saves his sister from utter worm turmoil. Boogeyman interrupts Jack Swagger's ECW Championship celebration, thank God, with his entrance on the next week of ECW, and he's gonna go one-on-one with Ricky Ortiz. Ricky has a mic and he says that he doesn't need to eat worms to get people behind him, and he tells Boogeyman that he needs a Ricky O'Reilly towel. Boogs then clotheslines Ortiz out of the ring, and Boogs' music starts playing. And then Ortiz just leaves. Can you even call this a match? What the fuck was that? Next week on ECW, and Jamie Noble is in the ring, and his opponent will of course be the Boogeyman. Jamie kicks Boogs in the stomach, Boogs then double goozles him and starts the shots in the corner before Noble starts up the punches, gets pushed down and laid out with a body slam. Boogeyman shoulder blocks Jamie out of the ring, Boogs then gives Noble a press slam through the ropes into the ring, Noble then hits a running knee. Jamie climbs up to the top and hits a diving axe handle for a 1 count. Boogeyman crystal whips Noble out of the sleeper hold, Noble gets the corner boots and then eats another corner, Boogs gives Noble some trap lariats and then turns Noble inside out. Boogs hits the boogie splash in the corner and then gives Jamie the boogie slam for the victory. 2 weeks later on ECW, and the Boogeyman is going to get some redemption in the form of a rematch against the former pirate Paul Burchill. Are these ropes red? I definitely do not remember that shit. Boogs immediately gets distracted by Katie Lee and gets attacked in the corner from Paul. Boogs ducks a line and gives Burchill one of his own, followed by a corner attack. He then hits the boogie splash elbow in the corner and then drops Burchill with a power slam. Boogs reaches for his worm pouch, but Paul Burchill rolls the Boogeyman up and gets the 3 count. Boogs is pissed and starts chasing after Katie Lee, who hightails it out of there with her brother. 2 weeks later, and we get to our final match of the video. Kane's pyro erupts as the Big Red Monster makes his return to ECW, and to close off this run, he will be taking on the Boogeyman. Kane seems like he can match Boogeyman's freak as Boogs gives him some worms. And then Kane canes Boogeyman in the chin. Kane starts stomping his ass out, rolls him out, and gives him a dropkick for a 2 count. Kane climbs the turnbuckle and misses his flying clothesline. Boogie hits the boogie splash in the corner, but turns around into a big boot from Kane. Boogs gets a hot shot on Kane and slams him into the turnbuckle, and then scales it before Kane snatches Boogs out of the air and gives him the choke slam, covers the Boogeyman, and secures a 3 count. And that, my friends, was every match that Boogeyman had during his ECW run. One more video on the Boogeyman and we will cover his whole WWE career when we see what he did in his early days in OVW. Love you all, and I will see you next time.